Let's talk to Paul Mason, journalist, and Paul joins us now. Paul, good evening.
Good evening.
I've just been talking to Lloyd Russell Moyle, who is the Labour MP for Brighton Kemp Town, who's been calling for a general strike as a one way to sort this mess out. Do you think it would have any effect?
I think, as a demonstrative act, I think we're going to less like the old-style general strikes. Remember, there was one in 1926, nearly 100 years ago.
I read about it.
Yeah, well, more like the kind of thing that's going on in Hong Kong, or was going on, the peaceful mass civil disobedience. When people get denied a basic voice for democracy, I've just been on this big demonstration outside Parliament.
Oh, you're one of them.
Yeah, I was on it. Yeah,
made my guests late for the show. It's just not acceptable.
I'm so sorry, actually, because what we tried to explain to people, there was no organisation, but we said, look, be peaceful, don't harass the cops, obey them, leave the journalists alone, and just let's have a big meeting. We did. And what surprised me, I mean, there were Lib Dems, there were Corbynists, there were People's Voters, and there were a lot of ordinary people, including Polish people who live and work here, and also refugees. And the overwhelming sentiment was, I thought this was a democracy.
Well, it is. That's why the referendum voted to leave.
Yeah, but here's a crucial point for your listeners, James. The referendum was a referendum. The will of the people is expressed in our British Constitution, and and embodied in the Queen as the monarch in Parliament. That is the law. The Queen in Parliament expresses the will of the people.
No, she doesn't. The Queen is just there as a figurehead.
No, I'm not using. I'm using the exact words of the British Constitution.
We don't have a constitution. It's not written down.
Well, you may have noticed we've got a thing called the Supreme Court. And when the Supreme Court makes rulings, they become law. The Supreme Court 2 years ago made a ruling that said exactly this. The only will of the people recognised by a British court, and by the police, by the civil service, by the people who enact the laws, is the Queen in Parliament. That's it. I mean, you might not like it. There's lots of people who don't like the Queen, don't like Parliament, and all.
No, I'm a staunch royalist, mate. Listen, I don't like Republicans, but the Queen is not in charge. The Queen does not make the decisions.
No, but what she does is that the sovereign power. So we're talking here about the sovereign power is Parliament,
right.
and that's why the Queen goes every year. That's why they're going to suspend Parliament to reopen it after 5 weeks.
Well, they always do that before a Queen's speech.
No, they don't. You see, and you're a presenter on a public service radio program.
I'm not on a public service radio program.
I'm sorry,
Don't be ridiculous.
This
is a commercial radio station.
Or even commercial radio has a license to be public service. So what I'm about to say to you, James, is very important. You just told a lie. You need to withdraw it. Yeah? You actually need to withdraw it. This does not always happen.
What was the lie? Because obviously I didn't tell a lie because I'm not aware that it is a lie. I may... No, you listen to me. No, Paul, listen to me. Paul, listen to me. Listen to me, Paul. Paul, you're not... Right, Paul, forget it. Just let's play what Paul said a little earlier on today on Twitter. This is what Paul said on social media.
We need people on the streets, and I don't mean people on the streets like on a classic sort of Remain People's Vote march. I mean like in the poll tax protests. And we need to force Johnson to obey the will of the people, which is expressed in Parliament.
So if anybody's going to apologise, maybe, Mr Mason, you should apologise for that.
I just asked you a question. For what? I mean, I'm calling for people to go on the streets like we did with the poll tax and stop it. I mean, we stopped the poll tax. I mean, this may be ancient history to a lot of young people, but this was one of the worst taxes where you were taxed for...
Do you know, you're very patronising, Paul. You talk down a lot. I'm sure you don't probably mean to do it, but you do talk now. But you're suggesting...
You're a radio presenter. You're being paid for doing this.
But you said the referendum is not a legal thing, but it was handed to them, and that's how our constitution works with precedent. So if it went to court, which is where the president is set, they would probably back that referendum. So it is the British constitution, and it's legal.
The key word that you just came out with, James, there was probably. We don't know. But in any case, the point about the British democracy is it sits in Parliament. That's what that weird Gothic building is all about. And there are people
You're doing it again. You're patronising. Listen, you're suggesting people go out on the street and start acting violently.
I think you should come with us as well.
I wouldn't come with you if it was my last breath. You are ridiculous. You are ridiculous, and you're patronising as well.
Thank you for that objective comment. I'm sure your bosses are looking even now at the outcome licence to see whether or not the way you're speaking to me fits what your program is supposed to do. Now, if you do want to listen to me, I'll tell you what your listeners should be listening to.
I don't want to listen to you. I've curtailed the interview. Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Mason. I don't like to be threatened on the air either. I mean, honestly, you know, if you want to have a discussion, we can have a discussion. If you want to have a debate, we can have a debate. But I just don't want to be talked at. I don't do it that way.